all the hype dies down, smartphones seem to be used for a while and then just forgotten about. But I think it's important to look back at how a device has held up over a longer period of time. In this video, I'll be discussing how the OnePlus 9 Pro has been to use on a daily basis over the last 6 months. I'm Gary, this is FoxTech, let's go. I know it's been a while since my last video, but thanks for sticking around and tuning into this one. I'm trying to upload a bit more regularly again now, so I look forward to sharing my thoughts on things. In terms of design, I've got no real complaints at all. I think the black version of the OnePlus 9 Pro is one of the best looking and feeling phones that I've ever used. I mean, most of us use a case anyway, so it doesn't really matter, but when I was at home and I took the case off, it felt so nice. The matte black finish, the curved edges and the modern design, I love it. The display is one of the most important areas of a smartphone in 2021 in my opinion. It's the way we interact with the phone on a daily basis, and so it should be an enjoyable experience. Things like refresh rate, brightness levels and whether there are any major issues go into me deciding whether I like a display or not. If you've followed my channel for a while, you'll know I returned 4 OnePlus 8 Pros because of the horrible display issues I had. But with the 9 Pro, I've seen no issues at all over the last 6 months. The 120Hz is incredibly smooth, although it's annoying that it's not 120Hz in the YouTube app. It seems to default to 60Hz even when scrolling, which is a bit annoying to be honest. I want 120Hz as much as possible. But other than that, it's been awesome. I'm one of those people that can notice the difference between 60Hz and 120Hz. So it's hard for me to use a 60Hz phone long term anymore because I just prefer the fluid feel of high refresh rate. I recommend all people try out 120Hz before saying it's pointless in a smartphone. Using the phone at night has been fine because it gets dim enough with no crazy problems, and it's plenty bright enough outdoors for me, especially when you have auto brightness on and it reaches that peak level of 800 nits. It's awesome. It reaches about 500 nits if you don't have auto brightness on outside, which is fine, but it's a little bit trickier to use. My only real complaint about the display is just the curved edges. Yeah, it looks all futuristic and all that kind of stuff, but I just prefer flat displays. Videos are a little bit distorted right at the edges, and there are some reflections from the lights around you on the side of the glass because of those curves. Look, it's not a major problem, but I just prefer flat displays and want companies to bring them back. I like that Apple still stick with the flat glass. The fingerprint scanner is under the display and it works great. I still reckon it could have been placed slightly higher up to make it a little bit easier to reach, but it's not like it's hard to press, and you get used to the positioning. I just would have liked it a little bit higher. It works really fast though, and I very rarely have to try twice to unlock the phone. It's super reliable. It's still crazy to me how fingerprint scanners are under the displays of phones, and soon front-facing cameras will be under the displays too. They've got a lot of improvements to bring on the under-display camera front, but a few years ago, we'd never have thought these things would be possible in consumer technology. Speaking of cameras, HassleBad, they're pretty good. They just don't live up to the HassleBlad hype, in my opinion. They do a fine job, and unless you compare things side by side with other phones, it's hard to notice, but they just aren't reliable as Apple and Google, which is a big thing for me. Look, I don't need the best camera, which is why I've been happy using the OnePlus 9 Pro for the past 6 months. But I do often wish that OnePlus would just pay Google for the use of Gcam and call it a day. Sometimes I felt photos have come out a little bit blurry, and whether that's due to me moving or shutter lag or just the camera being weird, I'm not sure. I've just never felt the Pixel 5, the iPhone 12 mini or even the Pixel 4a had those issues. It's meant I've had to take a couple of photos just to really nail one, which isn't the end of the world. I just want it to happen first time, every single time. Photos are still a little bit saturated, but many people like that look, and being colourblind, I don't really care about the colours too much to be honest, unless they're crazy overboard. I do like the natural bokeh or the depth of field that comes from using the bigger lens in this camera, and I think the ultra-wide camera has been one of the best ultra-wide cameras that I've used to date. It just gives some really great results. The macro mode is useful when you want to get really close to a subject, and it gives some pretty good results. You can also turn it off manually, unlike Apple, who know best, obviously, and turn it on and off for you whenever they want to. Why? Video has been fine for me overall, but Apple still takes the cake in terms of video. But when it comes to cameras, I think we might have a new king on the horizon soon. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Pixel 6 Pro. Battery life has been fine for me over the last few months. I charge my phone every night anyway, so I don't need 2 days of battery life, to be honest. It doesn't last as long as the Pixel 5 did, but with a bigger, brighter display, with a higher refresh rate and a more powerful processor, it would be silly to expect it. You can see the screen on time, and it's fine. Warp charge definitely helps with battery though through the day, because you know you can either just plug it in or stick it on the Warp wireless charger for a quick 10-20 minutes, and it'll give you plenty of battery to get through the day. Warp charge really is crazy, and it makes the battery life feel better than average because it tops up so damn fast. The rapid charging is something I feel that Apple and Google are really lagging behind on, and I wanted to upgrade that soon. Now onto the software. It feels like an end of an era, honestly. My two favourite versions of Android over the past few years have been Google Pixel devices and OnePlus devices. I loved how OnePlus stuck to a clean, stock Android feel which was customisable with very little clutter and a similar experience to what the Pixel devices offer. Yeah, there were differences, but it was very similar and I enjoyed OxygenOS because of it. However, OnePlus are changing things moving into 2022. They're merging their OxygenOS software with Oppo's ColorOS, which I'm personally not a fan of. I prefer the stock feel, and this personally isn't the direction I wanted OnePlus to go in, as I felt their software was one of their strengths ever since the CyanogenOS days back in the OnePlus One. It's a shame to see this merger happen in what they're calling OxygenOS 2.0, so I think it's time for me to move on. Yep, that Pixel 6 Pro has my name written all over it. I've not had many issues with the 9 Pro really, nothing major like previous phones I've owned, but there are a couple of things I need to mention. Firstly, the power button seems to register a double click sometimes when I only press it once. I used the case that came with the phone in the box, and I've never had any issues until about 4 months in, where I just go to lock the phone and it will just open up the camera. What the hell? It seems to do this without a case too, but it's really hard to replicate it over and over again. So maybe I'm just kind of double clicking away, but honestly I don't feel like I am, and I don't mean to. I'm just trying to lock the phone or wake it up, and it thinks I want to take a photo all the time. Smartphones aren't smart enough yet, clearly. I've had a lot of questions about heating issues on the 9 Pro, and I've got to say, I've barely had any. I've never seen an overheating message on the screen, and the only thing I've noticed is it sometimes gets a little bit warmer to the touch when I'm multitasking. Let's say I'm watching a YouTube video whilst doing something else in split screen mode. I've never seen heating errors though, and the heat I felt is very manageable. I've just noticed it get a little warm. Now, do I recommend buying the OnePlus 9 Pro 6 months down the line? It's a yes from me, with a caveat. My only real concern moving forwards is the software merger that's happening. The cameras are fine, the battery life's good, charging is great, the display is incredible, alongside it feeling very fast with great haptics and speakers, a unique alert slider and a gorgeous design. I think it's still a good pickup, especially when OnePlus have confirmed there is no OnePlus 9T, so this will be the OnePlus flagship until the OnePlus 10, or whatever it's called. I'd recommend trying to get it at a discount if you can, as it's been out for a while, but if you can get it for a couple of £100 off, it's a steal. Personally, I know I'm moving over to the Pixel 6 Pro very soon. I've been very excited about that for a while now, and I can't wait. OnePlus, it's been a pleasure, but I'm moving on. Thanks for watching. This was Fox Tech, and I'll catch you on the next one.